What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. I am back with yet another schedule preview and record prediction video, and today we're going to be doing the 2020 California Golden Bears. I think this might surprise you that I'm doing California, but California is a very underrated team in my opinion. They, year in and year out, always seem to pull off an upset against a team in the Pac-12 or a team in the non-conference, and they're just an overall pretty solid football team. They are returning their quarterback, Chase Garbers. He was fairly decent quarterback last year, and I expect him to improve this year. They have one of the best defensive back groups in the Pac-12, and possibly at the end of the season could be one of the better defensive back groups in all of the country. Some great NFL talent back there. California's a team that I think could shock a lot of people in the Pac-12. So we're going to see if California can get their hands on a Pac-12 title this year, or if California is not going to live up to my expectations and just have a down year. Here's the schedule for the California Golden Bears. You look down there, their 2019 record was 8-5. They played a lot of big-name programs in the Pac-12 last year, but they didn't really do very well against them. Lost to Oregon pretty big, lost to Utah pretty big, lost to USC pretty big last year. They did play a really good non-conference game in Ole Miss, ultimately ended their season 7-5 and ended up winning the Red Box Bowl against the Illinois Fighting Illini 35-20. That's how they got to 8-5. You look up there, the home games are going to be in that California blue, and their away games are going to be in the gold and yellow. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at California's schedule. So California is one of the one of the few teams this year that is going to be playing in week 0. And they're going to get a week 0 matchup against the UNLV Rebels. I don't expect this game to be very close. It's a road game for the Golden Bears, but they just have way too much talent in regards to UNLV. When you compare these two teams, it's a complete mismatch. I see California easily being able to run away with this game. Then it's a home game against TCU. This game, to me, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. TCU is a team that I expect to improve from where they were last year as well. TCU, back when the playoff first came around, they were really good and in the playoff mix, and they've just slowly dropped off year after year. They are not what they used to be. But TCU does have a lot of good talent coming back this year, and ultimately I think could be this year's Baylor in the Big 12. They could be the surprise team in the Big 12 this year. And I think this is a really good matchup. It's going to be a good early season matchup. It's in week 1, so it's going to be a good way to kick off the first week of the college football season besides week 0. I want to slightly favor California here just because I feel like Chase Garbers is such a difference maker, and especially to this Cal team. He's got some good weapons on wide receiver, and Cal's running game is going to be pretty good next year. And ultimately, what I think sets Cal apart from TCU is one of the more defensive teams in the Big 12 with the Gary Patterson system, and Cal has one of the best defensive back, especially in the safety area, one of the best defensive back groups in the Pac-12, and I think that's just what separates them from TCU and what ultimately is going to let Cal win this game. So then they get another home game against California Poly, and they are an FCS team, and not a very good one at that. Cal should easily win this one. Then they get their bye week, so Cal gets 2 bye weeks because they play in week 0. And here is the first one. I'm not really going to say anything about this bye week. Again, it's a good spot for their first bye week of the season. It comes before a game against Utah, which they're going to need to prepare for because Utah could maybe be a little bit of a surprise team. I think a lot of people expect Utah to drop off from where they were last year, myself included, but they still have some good talent over there, especially on the defensive side. Their defense is very well equipped to handle anything that they throw at them, but it's their offense that worries a lot of Utes fans, and they're losing their 2 most important pieces on offense, most notably running back Zach Moss, who is one of the top running backs in the entire country, and he has since left, and Utah's got a lot of positions to fill on the offensive side. I think Cal's going to be able to win this game pretty handedly. Utah's going to be a relatively good team next year, not as good as they were last year, as I just said, but I think they could be able to compete with California for a little bit. but towards the end, I just see California being able to pull away. Then they get 2 road games, the first of which comes against Washington State. So Washington State is losing the air raid attack with their head coach, Mike Leach. He is gone. He is going to go coach at Mississippi State. So Washington State, I expect to have a down year. And really, Washington State's defense could be the reason they are anywhat of a decent team next year. But I expect their offense to be really down. We've always been accustomed to Washington State having one of the passing leaders every single year at the quarterback position just because of the air raid attack. And now Washington State's got to figure out a whole new offense. I see Cal being able to come into Washington State and win this game. All right, then it's a road game against USC. And this is going to be, in my opinion, besides TCU, this is going to be Cal's first real challenge. USC is going to be a team that's on the rise this year, probably going to have one of the more explosive offenses in the Pac-12, maybe in the entire country. I'm not terribly high on this USC team. I just think they got a lot of positions to fill and got a lot of guys that they need to replace. So USC could be a fairly good team next year. This one is going to be an interesting matchup to watch. As I said in my intro, Cal has pulled off a lot of upsets in prior years past to a lot of Pac-12 teams. They always just find a way to do it year after year. This could be a game where Cal ends up pulling off the upset, but I'm going to lean towards USC in this game because it is a home game for the Trojans, and I just feel like by this point USC's kind of got a lot, if not most or all, of their offensive and defensive struggles figured out, so I'm going to give this one to the Trojans. Then they get a home game against the Oregon Ducks. So I don't think I really talked about this game a lot in the Oregon video, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit here because I've changed my opinion on this game since my Oregon video. Oregon is going to be a very good team next year. They have a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball. Their defense is absolutely stacked. They have one of the best offensive tackles, if not the best offensive tackle in 2020. Tyler Shuck's going to be their quarterback, and he's got a lot of experienced wide receivers and a good running back in C.J. Verdell to kind of help him fit in. Oregon is going to be absolutely loaded this year, but this is a game that I feel like Oregon should watch out for because Cal is no pushover. Year after year, Cal has held their ground, and last year I think they were as high as 12th in the AP poll and kind of fell off towards the end of the season. They just started to play tougher competition, but I feel like Oregon is going to be a good challenge for them, and I feel like this game is going to be closer than the experts think. Overall, I just feel like Oregon's got too much talent on the offensive side. I think it's going to be a defensive battle as it was last year, but Cal only scored 7 points against Oregon. It was 17-7 last year. I expect it to be another defensive game, but overall, I think Oregon's offense is just more potent than California's offense, and this is why I'm going to lean towards the Ducks. Very close game, though. Then a road game against Oregon State right after they play Oregon. I think this will be a nice, relaxed game for California. Oregon State is a team that is improving, but overall, they're still not that great of a football team. As I said, they are improving. They were able to give Oregon a couple good possessions last year, which I think surprised quite a fair few people. If they would have beat Oregon, they would have made it to a bowl game. And I think they have some good talent in order to make it to a bowl game this year, but Cal's just got way too much talent when you compare them to Oregon State. I think the Golden Bears shouldn't have a problem here with the Beavers. Then a home game against Washington. Washington is the team that I also expect to have a down year. They're losing lots of talent. Miles Gaskin not going to be there anymore. Jacob Eason not going to be there anymore. And then they're losing Hall of Fame head coach Chris Peterson, and they're going to have to figure out a whole new system. I think they're still going to be a fairly decent team, but overall just they're going to be down from where they have been in prior years. I think Cal's going to be able to win this one, maybe by a couple possessions. Definitely a double-digit game in my opinion, but I believe that Cal, again, they're going to have a little bit of an up year while Washington's going to have a down, and Cal's going to be able to win this football game. Then a road game against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Arizona State is a team that I really like this year. I had them finishing 9-3, and I predicted a win here against Cal. But I did say that they could have trouble with this game because Arizona State's defense, while I think they're going to have most, if not all of their stuff figured out by now, they just do not have as much raw talent as California has on their defense. Although it is a road game for the Golden Bears, I am favoring the Sun Devils because it is a road game, and feel like Arizona State's also going to have one of the better offenses in the Pac-12, maybe in the entire country by this point. So I'm going to lean towards the Sun Devils in this one. I do think it's going to be a very close competitive game, and overall what could be what I'm going to consider an upset and Cal beating Arizona State. Could see this one going either way, but I'm going to favor the Sun Devils. Then their second bye week of the season. If I was a Cal fan, I probably would like to have had it before the Arizona State game, but this is ultimately another good spot for their second and last bye week of the season after a tricky road game. Then their last two games this season, I don't think they're going to have a problem with either of them. You get to play Stanford, and Stanford is losing their quarterback, KJ Costello, to the transfer portal. And while I do think that they're going to improve from where they have been in previous years, I just do not think that they're going to be able to compete with California. So I'm going to give the Golden Bears the win there. And then their final game of the season, the Friday game against the UCLA Bruins. And I also expect them to win this game. UCLA is coming off some momentum from last year, big comeback win earlier in the season against Washington State, and overall just kind of played maybe a tad bit better than fans thought, but we got to hope that, and I believe UCLA fans are just hoping that Chip Kelly can finally get the Chip Kelly offense that he had at Ole Miss and all the other teams he's coached that, and if UCLA can get it there, maybe I'd reconsider this being a closer game, but for right now, I got Cal easily winning this one. All right, so now with everything being said and considered for the California Golden Bears, I have them going 8-4, and I feel like 8-4 is a very good record for this California team, in which I overall think they're going to take it a little bit of a step up from where they were last year. 7-5 in the regular season last year. I'm going to go 8-4, so it's overall an improvement for the Golden Bears. I really like this team this year. I feel like they have potential to do some incredible things, and to me, if you're wondering, those 4 losses are going to be to USC, to Oregon, to Arizona State, and then I think they're going to be able to split TCU and Washington, or just lose another game somewhere down the line, whether that be on the road to Washington State. Or I just feel like Cal is a very solid 8-4 team right now with the talent that they have. They have a lot of really good spots, as I mentioned, their quarterback Chase Garbers and some of the better defensive backs in the entire Pac-12. And I feel like 8-4 is a very good record for this California team. All right, so let's move on to their record range. I take this team's worst case scenario, not their best case scenario, and this is where I expect this team to be in terms of their record this year. In the worst case scenario I have for Cal is 6-6. So even in Cal's worst case scenario for me, I have them making a bowl game. Again, Chase Garbers, if he just doesn't take it a step up and the defensive backs do not play like they have in previous years or even take it a step up, they got a lot of interesting games on the schedule. Earlier in the season, they got TCU. Of course, then they have to go on the road to play USC and play Oregon, then on the road to play Arizona State. As I said, if Chip Kelly can get his offense going, they could lose to UCLA. If Washington State proves that they don't need Mike Leach, they could be a tricky team. I just feel like Cal's absolute worst case scenario is 6-6. I'll give them some guaranteed wins to UNLV and Cal Poly. But other than that, I really see them having the potential to lose every single game on this schedule. Now, I feel like they're going to win the majority of those games because they are Cal and just what they've been known to do. But I can absolutely see them going 6-6 if they just can't get stuff figured out. Then on the opposite side of the spectrum, I could also see them going 10-2 and having a really, really good year. The only 2 losses to me were probably be on the road to USC would be a guaranteed loss, and then they would split Oregon and Arizona State. I could see them being able to win both of those games. Probably more so a win against Arizona State. I just think Oregon's going to be way too talented this year. But it is, in my opinion, a trap game for Oregon when they have to play Cal on the road. But other than that, as I said, Cal's got some guaranteed wins against UNLV and Cal Poly. And other than that, every single game on the schedule, of course, besides the ones I just mentioned where they could lose, is very manageable, and they don't really have any particularly tricky road games outside of USC and Arizona State. Maybe Washington State could be a little tricky if they prove, again, they don't need Mike Leach, but every single game on the schedule is manageable for the California Golden Bears, so that's why their best case scenario is at 10-2. But my current prediction for the 2020 California Golden Bears is 8-4. All right, so that's going to do it for my schedule preview and record prediction for the California Golden Bears. And if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel or just enjoy my content. If you haven't done so already, please do leave a comment down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the California Golden Bears. And as always, until next time, remember, play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.